make such a significant capital investment. And there aren't other things to spend the capital on, because what we want is a balanced programme, not simply to address just the street lighting. But if the payback was so substantial that investing to pay back, then we would bring a programme back, but would have to reach that tipping point. And the professional advice at the moment is that we haven't quite reached that tipping point. So as an administration, we're taking, a step in that direction with another £2 million investment. I think that's the right move. That strikes the right balance. If at some point it's viable commercially to borrow and pay back, as the questioner is alluding to, then we would take that as a pure business case, I suppose, Keith, at that point.
I think there's some practical things on that as well. If you go out now and buy all of the streetlights to be replaced, then you buy a technology at a point in time. So every single one of your bulbs will be the same technology, which is great to begin with, but of course what you tend to do is take the revenue out of your budget. So you switch it to capital, you'd lose your revenue budget because you're not going to need any lighting revenue budget for the next 5 years. You always never put that back in, and so you end up then on only being able to replace lights on a capital cycle, which becomes much more intensive. So you will tend to find that you put your PFI position in, you replace all your lights, then you don't really spend any money on maintenance, and then you have to replace all your lights again at the same time, because they all go at the same time. Whereas if you do it in sections, what you end up with is different lights of different ages, which means if you have a rolling revenue program, you constantly don't have to replace everything all at once. So there's some practical things as well that you have to be really careful about, saying, do you want everything to be replaced in a very short time scale, or do you want them to be in batches where you can do it over a more programmed period? It is a choice. Some councils have done it. In my last council did it the other way. We went for PFI. It was interesting. So you think you're going to replace all your lights at the same time, but you don't. It still takes you 5 years, because there's so many to do and so many lampposts to do and everything else that actually, by the time you get to the end of it, you think, wouldn't it have just been easier to have had a rolling program, because that's what you end up with, but you've taken the money out of revenue. So there's logistics, and there's also this issue about life of the unit, as well as choosing a technology. The big technology that's coming is graphene, isn't it? So everything at the minute's LED. There's this new wonderful component called graphene, which is carbon, I think, and it's ultimately more efficient than anything else. So once they can make it into an LED, I suspect it'll be the next big thing again. So the point is, if you just bought them now, you might regret it in 10 years' time. So if you do a bit, you can always upgrade to the latest technology as you move through.
In addition to the woodlands, are there any other conservation proposals that are coming up?
I suppose the woodland planting scheme is our flagship project. There is the normal day-to-day energy efficiency program, whether it's looking at our fleet, our buildings, and is more detail in the in the budget report about that, where we can make things more efficient, effective, they're cheaper, and there's a payback. Well, why wouldn't we do that? Whether it's in our own private life, in our home, or as leaders of this organisation, or any other one. So where there are sensible programmes coming forward, absolutely. I suppose what we've highlighted in the slides, to be honest, colleagues, is the new stuff. Yes. There's lots of stuff that we do each and every day, and I don't want to take away from that. That is just good general efficiency, sensible environmental measures, absolutely. I suppose the budget inevitably focuses on those headline things, new initiatives, but there's plenty of details available if the questioner would like to look at those, either in the budget papers or indeed in things like our various plans on sustainability.
Talking of plans, any more plans for more bat highways?
I haven't got any plans up my sleeve for another launch of bat lights or anything else, although I do think, and it's amazing what does capture the media or general interest. Often it is either human interest stories or new initiatives like that, and I think you yourself, Keith, were telling me how we've got worldwide reach with our bat lights and that particular innovation. But no, I haven't got the next location for another backlight.
But Rachel might.
Somebody else in the room. Right,
Rachel's
Rachel's
leaving.
just off to get her next backlight.
If you didn't hear it on the webcast, we're working on it. There'll be more to come at some point.